Oscar and Lando. Should the McLarens have switched? A botch pit late in the race saw Oscar Piastri, jump over Lando Norris, which has happened a lot this year, but not exactly in this fashion. Not a major title swing with this result either, but from a pure racing perspective, Sam, should the McLarens have swapped?
No, absolutely not. They should have just, for one, Piastri should not have pit first. Okay. Norris should have pit first, and then Piastri should have pit second. Now, my understanding is on the radio that Norris wanted Piastri to pit first. I believe that is correct. Right. So that was his call. It didn't work out for him in the end, but Piastri should not have been punished for that. That's not something he can control. And it just creates controversy in the sport because this is a title fight. Like, these are your top two drivers. Like, you can't be playing patty cake like that out there. It's not good for the sport. It's not good for the team. It's just not good for the brand. No, they should not have swapped. Absolutely not. Huge mistake for them to actually do it.
I think I agree. This was also something that post-race, a number of members of the media who have been a lot closer, they're actually there every Sunday, every Grand Prix weekend. The understanding was that this was not something that was specifically outlined in the papaya rules that we have heard about over the last couple of years. The way that they go racing, a botched pit was not something that was necessarily agreed upon before this. Piastri playing the team game, being reminded of Hungary last year, just decided to relinquish it. And I think part of this is that it didn't necessarily affect the championship in any major significant way. Only a 3-point swing back in Lando Norris's direction. Oscar still leads this by 31 points. But, you've been watching this sport for the majority of your life. Do you see this as a potential swing, maybe of momentum for Lando? Does this just create more tension? Like, what do you think the dynamic is going forward with that in mind?
No, I don't think this is a momentum swing for Lando at all. In fact, I think it probably hurts him because he's going to see all the headlines and hear all the noise and all the controversy around it because he didn't earn it, right? And people know it, and he probably knows it too. And he's definitely suffered from a confidence problem in the past. I don't think this is going to help him. As far as a swing in the title, I don't think this is going to have a huge impact just because it's 3 points. And that's something I kind of want to highlight for a minute is how Oscar handled the whole situation. I think, for one, if it had been the lead, I don't think that Oscar would have relinquished it. I think he would have pushed back, and he would have been like, catch me, and then you can pass me. But because it's second and third, the point differential is so small, it's 3 points. It's not worth him picking a fight within the team. He'll look like the adult in the room. It's just going to give him brownie points with the team. And I think that's part of his calculus there in doing so. The other thing is, in him doing this, if there's something down the road that happens where he needs McLaren to back him, he's going to have this in his pocket if the title fight were to get closer, or something even next year. This just benefits him, I think, in the long run. Now, I'm sure he's not happy that it happened at all. I know Mark Webber's certainly not happy. There's no chance he's happy about this. But I don't understand this. I don't understand why McLaren feel the need to play favorites in a way with Lando. It feels like that's what they're doing. It feels like they're treating him special and they're treating him with kid gloves. And I know he has seniority, but Oscar has earned this lead. He has earned this 30-point gap. And I don't think it's good for the sport to try to almost in a way artificially create tension in the title fight. Because it's not real. Nobody believes that it doesn't feel like a real title fight at this point.
Yeah, because there really isn't any tension. After Lando had the DNF back in Zandvoort, the lead got out to 34 points. Oscar's just been wholly that much more consistent this year. He's shown that he has, an elite level racecraft, right? He can hang in there with the big boys. He can play defense, and he has damn good pace when he needs it to try to catch up. This, in comparison to like Hungary last year, where Lando relinquished that win over to Oscar, I think that, contextually for Oscar, this is, like you mentioned, something he could just put in his back pocket. Giving up a second place in a race where, you're only going to lose a net of 3 points versus giving up a race win in the middle of a championship battle, very, very, very different. And yeah, having this in this back pocket, I think, just serves as nothing more than a positive thing for him. Outside of this, you mentioned just the dynamics of it. This doesn't feel like a very tense battle, though, overall. Like, even with the 34 points between teammates, you would imagine that Lando might be a little bit more competent within that 34 points. McLaren do seem to have put this like shell around him of, well, if we can benefit you in some way, by all means. I don't necessarily know that they feel the same way about Oscar beyond that one time in Hungary when the championship was pretty far out of their grasp at that point for the driver's perspective anyway. I think relatively it's boring. It kind of sucks. You kind of want to see these drivers have some attitude towards each other, but I don't know what kind of wording is within their contracts that have got such a chokehold from McLaren over them to say, you're going to relinquish this position if we want you to or not. As far as this championship stacks up, historically speaking, has there ever been anything kind of like this where it's been this kind of milquetoast when it comes to the dynamics between drivers, even inter-team? At least that you can remember. Because it's not like you would have ever seen this from Senna and Prost when they were battling in like 88, no, right? Like you never would have seen this from even the Hamilton and Rosberg championship. They were at each other's throats all year.
That's probably the closest I can come to, because the problem with some of these other, inter-team title fights, you look at something like back when Schumacher and Massa were together, it was very obvious, like Schumacher's the top dog. Like that's his title. And Massa's going to do everything he can to really help Schumacher. You also have, who was Rubens Barrichello before that. When you have that top car where everybody's kind of chasing you, it's nice when there are two drivers that fight. And I think everybody thought that Lando and Oscar were going to be that, because they are such talented drivers and they have a lot of experience. So it should be like Nico and Hamilton. And it's just not. And it's really disappointing to see. Do
you think it's part of the personality, these guys too, though, where Lando's been a lot more, I would say Oscar has more of that edge to him that maybe you see out of a guy like a Lewis, right? But Lando doesn't have it the same way. The mentality's so different, and maybe that's just a lot more reflective of that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, really, the title fight at the end of the day, a lot of it is a mental game, right? It's about who can make the least amount of mistakes. And Lando has been making more mistakes. We go back to last week, the Dutch Grand Prix. He gets the DNF. And if he hadn't crashed in Canada, he'd still be in this. The gap wouldn't be what it is now. And that's why being the consistent driver is really important. Being the more consistent driver is really important in a title fight because, technical issues are going to happen, right? Crashes are going to happen that are out of your control. But when you can control what you can control it, actually don't make those mistakes. Like Norris crashing out in Canada, that probably decided the title fight, really, because I'm sure at some point Oscar might have a DNF as well, but he's just going to keep stacking these points, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. The gap's going to grow and grow just because Oscar's so consistent. He's very level. He's just very calm. He doesn't get too high. He doesn't get too low. He just does his job, just races the car. He'll complain now and then, or he'll give his thoughts, but he doesn't let it bother him the way that Lando does. Lando can get shook. And I think he's grown this year, though. I think as the year's gone on, he's gotten better and better at handling that. But I think the first chunk of the year has really cost him. And
it's a little too late. And then the incident ends then where the car just failed out from underneath him. It's just kind of gone away. You can't make those mistakes, right? I'm curious to see, though, what the long-term view looks like. And maybe I know I'm asking you a lot of questions here, but I am kind of curious. What breaks between one of these guys, even beyond just this year? Let's look ahead to the next regulations. Somebody's contract's going to expire at some point. Whose team does this really end up being at some point? Is this one of those deals where maybe Lando's fed up because Oscar's now matched him this year? We've seen that he can compete with him at a championship level unfazed. Does this become Oscar's team for the foreseeable future? Is this a dynamic that just kind of continues and we'll just see what happens? Like, who leaves first in your estimation? Does Lando get an ego and go, you know what? I still feel like I've got it. I'm going to go drive for, I don't know, Alpine and try to win a championship, similar to like a Ricardo leaving Red Bull, trying to prove himself situation, maybe.
I mean, you would think it would be Oscars if he wins the title this year, but Zach Brown and McLaren seem pretty set on it being Lando's team in a way, in the way that they're acting and treating Lando. So I don't know. I mean, the problem with this dynamic is when you have two drivers that are this talented driving the same car, and the car is this far in front of everybody else, it's inevitable that there's going to be a split. You know, you saw it Mercedes with Nico and Hamilton, Red Bull to a lesser extent back in the 2010s, back at McLaren with Senna and Prost. I mean, it just McLaren again, Alonso and Hamilton too, and we're going to have to see what the car looks like with the new regulations. Mm-hmm. That's really going to tell us if there's going to be a split with the drivers down the road. I don't think they split like this year or even next year, but
yeah, I think they're on some pretty lengthy extensions.
So. Yeah, but I wouldn't be shocked if in 3 years, if things continue on this trajectory, that one of them leaves. Again, I would think it would be Piastri, but I mean, if he feels like they're giving Lando special treatment and he's like, you know what, I can go somewhere else and not deal with this. I can go to Ferrari, or maybe, you know, Aston Martin gets it together, Red Bull gets it together. One of these teams, why wouldn't he go, right? I mean, we'll have to wait and see, though. I mean, this sport, every year is different. The cars are always different. It's such a volatile sport. But it's very possible. I just don't know yet. We just don't have enough information yet.
I think I would kind of trend along the same line, just because the history's been there with McLaren for so long, backing Lando. It's been 6 years in the making. This was supposed to be his year, even just bringing it back to now, that you do kind of get this sense and this feeling that, man, this wasn't really their plan for it to be Oscars year. This was very much so supposed to be Lando's time, his opportunity. He was winning races towards the end of last season, but like the car was supposed to be leagues ahead. It is leagues ahead now, but Oscar found 2/10 in just development and progression and pace and qualifying pace, especially. And he's really taken it to him. I think that we could see at some point down the road, let's say McLaren really hit this next regulation pretty well. Maybe if they're not necessarily winning races to begin, maybe they are, but if they're right there, if they're competing, I think these next like couple of years are really going to be interesting, because one of these guys is going to win this championship. It looks like it's going to be Oscar. We got 9 races to go this championship, but if you walk into next year, oh, it's clean slate, it's anybody's race, but they're still getting these little like hints of like, we'd really like to see Lando do it. I feel like that could maybe be pushing Oscar to make a decision. Maybe McLaren sticking by Lando a little bit too much. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I want to know what the TLPs think. What do you guys think? Is this fight over already? Do you guys think that this is a really weird dynamic? How does this championship resolve at the end? Does Lando even have a shot? I don't think Sam and I believe that, but maybe when Kevin comes back, he's the resident Lando Norris fan. Maybe he might believe that there's still a chance. We're getting to this point now where it's still mathematically possible. But once you start saying mathematically possible, it starts feeling like it's less and less likely.
It's possible. It's just very unlikely. A lot of things would need to go Lando's way, and a lot of things would have to not go Piastri's way. That's the thing, is Piastri's so consistent that even if Lando's doing amazing work in this back half, as long as Piastri's just keeping up, I don't know.